This is your virtual lab tour at JMS, Jefferson Middle School. Always be safe. So they put that right outside of our science labs. So here we go. We're going to go right on in and we're going to get started. We're going to take a look at a few items as you walk into the lab room. I'm going to give you a good view. Some students haven't been inside the lab rooms yet. Notice there's lab desks. The chairs are 2 per table. You'll be able to work with your lab partner, and then there's also some area around the labs that you can work in. Notice there's these orange outlets. Those orange outlets are electrical outlets that are safety protected in the event that you get water on those. So let's kind of go ahead and get started. We're going to have our first item that we're going to talk about. It's located right by the door. This is your fire extinguisher. When you come up and you use the fire extinguisher, what's nice is the door is never locked. You don't want to have to go look for a key in the case of an emergency. And so I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. You can see the pin that they discussed yesterday in the video we watched. There's the hose that you aim with, and then whenever you have to spray your nozzle, you will pull the pin and you will squeeze this together, and then you'll sweep side to side. Use this in case of an emergency, and they are located in the corner of every single lab classroom. They're also in the hallways in case of an emergency in the hallway also. We're going to kind of work our way around the labs. You'll notice that there's sinks around each lab. Not all items can be disposed of in a sink. Make sure that you have listened to your teacher for proper disposal directions for items during the labs. You'll have some soap dispensers next to every lab. Make sure that you clean up after yourself. We always make it a good practice to get out and get into the lab, understand what you're doing, but make sure when you're done you know how to properly dispose of items and clean up. There's also paper towel holders around the outside sinks to aid in your cleanup. So we're going to kind of work our way around a little bit. I'm going to show you some specific items as we work through. Over here in the corner, I know that we've watched a couple videos in class. Here is our safety shower and our eye wash station. It's yellow. There's a lever that you would use in case of the safety shower. This is if you have an emergency where you go, there's no time to take your clothing off. So for instance, if you were to spill some stuff on your jeans or your shirt and you need to rinse that stuff off immediately, you would come over here. You would pull down on this item right here, which is connected up there, and it starts a shower spray. It rinses down here into the bottom of the drain. So this is where you would come if you had an emergency that required you to rinse off. Here's your eye wash station. It's located directly below. In the case of an emergency where you get a contaminant or an irritant in your eye, that means like a powder or a liquid or a chemical, come over here and use this. Don't ask for permission. Don't raise your hand and wait. If you have something in your eye that's burning, please come over and use this. The way that you use this is you activate the small handle here by pushing forward on it, and when you push forward, water streams out of these 2 little nozzles. Rinse your eyes for 15 minutes. Your eyes are very important. You only get 2 of them. Make sure that you take care of them, and when you're finished, teacher of course will be assisting you. Make sure that you pull this back. Notify anytime you get anything in your eye. You can come rinse your eye, but make sure that your lab partner comes over and lets the teacher know. Next thing we're going to take a look at is the location of the fire blanket. Now the location of the fire blanket of course is next to the shower, and you'll find it inside of this bag. Now notice where it says tab pull down. I've actually taken the fire blanket out, and I wanted you to kind of see the tab they're talking about is this tab. When you pull down on that, this entire blanket gets released. Now, we watched a video yesterday that kind of showcased how to use the fire blanket. The fire blanket is used for small fires that can be easily contained. Make sure you leave the blanket on until it completely smothers out the oxygen source for the fire. Inside of this bucket, this is our spill cleanup kit. This is basically designed to be used with any kind of liquid spill. So for instance, you're working with some chemicals and your neighbor accidentally bumps you, and that causes you to tump over a test tube full of liquid, and it runs all over the floor. Well, we don't want anybody stepping in that, and we don't want them tracking it around the room. So inside of this, you'll find something that looks a lot like kitty litter. Say? And that's an absorbent is what that's called. You'll actually take that out and you'll gently pour it on top of the spill, and that kitty litter will absorb the spill and therefore contain the spill until we can do some proper cleanup. Next to the eye wash station and in between the spill kit, you're going to find your broken glass kit. The broken glass kit is separate from regular trash. The reason for that is when you break glass, it tends to be very, very sharp. So we don't want to throw glass into the regular trash can and dispose of it with the other items, mainly because it'll tear the bag of the trash can in a normal trash bag. Notice this is a cardboard box, so it's a lot safer and it can hold broken items a lot better. So make sure that you understand broken glass. First off, notify your teacher that something's been broken, and then after that, please come over and make sure that you let us know where you're putting the glass and that you're safely disposing of it. Over here, you know, you only get 2 eyes in your lifetime, hopefully. And what you're going to do is make sure every single time we have a lab that requires, or you should see possible injury to eye, that you make sure you use your safety goggles. Okay, this is called the goggle cabinet. Now what you do inside the goggle cabinet is, it is designed, if you notice that says do not look at the light. Well, the light that they're talking about is the ultraviolet light when we go to clean these. When we go to clean them, there's a little switch on the back and we turn them on, and that switch kills all the bacteria that might be present from other people's usage. So here's a nice set of goggles. Please take care of this equipment. We don't have a whole lot of it between all the teachers, so we want to make sure that we're being careful about how we use this equipment. Make sure you put it back every time after you use them, and that will keep all the teachers on campus happy. We're going to walk over here. I'm going to give you a view of what the room looks like from the very back. As you scan your way across, notice that there's a teacher area up front, and I'm going to show you an emergency button that's located on that front teacher's desk. In the case of an emergency, exit either door. Okay, there's a door on this side and there's a door on this side. Listen to teacher directions during any kind of emergency, fire, spill, chemical hazard, fire drill. Make sure you're listening to your teacher's directions. We're going to come over here and I'm going to show you up front what it looks like to be a teacher. So notice we get a good view of everything that's going on in the room. That way we can keep an eye on everything and we can be listening and watching to what you're doing and also helping you learn a little bit. But underneath this front desk, if you look right there, okay, that is called the emergency shutoff button. Okay, you have to lift up here to access that button. I'm not going to do that now, obviously, but in case of any sort of emergency in the back where there's an electrical issue, say we're working with an item and that item is plugged into that outlet and somebody accidentally bumps it underneath that water faucet right there. Well, now we have an electrical issue inside of a water faucet, which is definitely a hazard for electric shock. What we would do is run up front, you would pull the clear cover off and you would push the emergency shut off button, and it will cut electricity to all of the electrical outlets around the room. That is used in case of an electrical shock hazard around the room. There's also an emergency evacuation plan on each window, on each wall next to the doors. It tells you where to go in case of an emergency. Always make sure you're paying attention when you're in any sort of a lab, a new building. I know the 6th graders, you guys are new to this building for the most part. Maybe you've been here with an older sibling, but you need to know what to do and where to go. You need to know that there's different floors, there's different exits, and all of those things are important in case of an emergency. So here's your lab virtual tour. Now there's going to be a short quiz that follows up. Hopefully you were paying attention and you will be successful on your lab quiz and ultimately on your lab test.